Life in New York can be a real pressure cooker. For a young man named Charlie, living in the city felt like being in a constant state of worry. The daily grind, the rush, the fear, and the insecurity of the modern world weighed heavily on his shoulders. He felt that everyone he knew was running from something, trying to find a moment of peace that never seemed to arrive. Charlie, like many others, found himself longing for a simpler, more peaceful time. He often dreamt of a place like Galesburg, Illinois, in the 1890s. He imagined a town with big old frame houses, huge lawns, and tremendous trees. A place where life moved at a slower, more gentle pace, far from the anxieties of his present-day existence. This longing for the past wasn't just a fleeting thought for Charlie. It was a deep-seated desire, a way to cope with the stress that surrounded him every single day. He collected stamps, a hobby that allowed him to connect with different times and places, offering a temporary escape. His grandfather had lived in Galesburg during those peaceful times, and the stories passed down painted a picture of an idyllic world. Charlie believed that life back then was tranquil and secure. People were not in a hurry. They had time for each other and for themselves. This romanticized vision of the past became his personal sanctuary, a mental retreat from the harsh realities of his own time. Charlie was just an ordinary fellow, 31 years old, wearing a tan gabardine suit and a straw hat. He was not trying to escape his life in any grand way. He loved his wife, Louisa, and was content with his home. Yet, the underlying pressures of modern life, the constant threat of war, the worry, the fear, were always there, buzzing just beneath the surface. He wasn't alone in feeling this way. He saw it in the faces of the people on the subway, in the hurried steps of pedestrians on the street. Everyone seemed to be searching for a temporary refuge from reality, a way to forget their troubles, even if just for a little while. His desire for escape was something he shared with many people. It's a common human feeling to wish for a better time, especially when your own time feels so overwhelming. Charlie's dream of 1894 was his personal version of this universal wish. It was a world without the complexities and fears that defined his present. In his mind, Galesburg represented everything that New York was not: calm, serene, and safe. This powerful yearning for a bygone era set the stage for an extraordinary journey, one that would blur the lines between what was real and what was simply a product of a wishful mind. One evening, Charlie was in a hurry to get home to his wife Louisa. He decided to take the subway from Grand Central Station, a place he knew like the back of his hand. But that night something was different. He ducked into an arched doorway, heading for the subway, and found himself in a corridor that began angling downward and turning left. He had been in and out of Grand Central hundreds of times, but he had never seen this part of the station before. The tunnel was empty and quiet, with an eerie silence that was unusual for the busy station. He kept walking, thinking he was heading towards the second level, but the corridor led him somewhere else entirely. He soon realized he was on a different level of the station, one that wasn't on any map. This was the third level. The place looked completely different from the modern station he had just left. The rooms were smaller, with fewer ticket windows and train gates. The information booth in the center was made of wood and was very old-looking. The man in the booth wore a green eyeshade and long black sleeve protectors. The lights were dim and flickering because they were open-flame gas lights. There were brass spittoons on the floor. Everything about the place screamed of a different century. It was as if he had walked through a door and stepped directly into the past. Charlie's curiosity grew as he observed the people around him. They were dressed in 1890s fashion. The men had beards, sideburns, and fancy moustaches. The women wore dresses with leg-of-mutton sleeves and high-buttoned shoes. He saw a man pull a gold watch from his vest pocket and a locomotive that looked like a funnel. To confirm his suspicions, he walked over to a newsboy and glanced at the stack of papers at his feet. It was a newspaper called The World, and the lead story was about President Cleveland. The date on the front page was June 11th, 1894. He had done it. He had found a gateway to the past he had been dreaming about. Overwhelmed with excitement, Charley immediately decided he wanted to stay. He went to a ticket window to buy 2 tickets to Galesburg, Illinois, one for himself and one for his wife, Louisa. He wanted to escape the present and live in this peaceful world. However, when he tried to pay for the tickets with his modern currency, the clerk at the counter looked at him suspiciously. The clerk thought the money was fake and threatened to call the police. Frightened, Charley turned and fled. He ran back the way he came, finding his way back to the familiar corridors of the modern Grand Central Station. His first attempt to escape had failed, but the discovery of the 3rd level had changed everything for him. After his incredible experience, Charley became obsessed with finding the 3rd level again. The brief glimpse of 1894 was not enough. He was determined to go back and stay there for good. He told his wife, Louisa, about his discovery, describing the gaslights, the old-fashioned clothes, and the newspaper from the past. At first, Louisa was very worried. She thought her husband was hallucinating or losing his mind. The stress of modern life, she believed, was making him see things that weren't there. Her initial reaction was one of concern and disbelief, and she urged him to stop looking for this imaginary place. Charley also shared his story with his psychiatrist friend Sam Weiner. Sam listened patiently, but quickly dismissed it as a waking dream wish fulfillment. He explained that Charley was unhappy with his life, and that the 3rd level was simply a form of escapism, a mental construct created by his desire to flee from the modern world's insecurities and fears. Sam's logical, psychological explanation made sense on the surface. He even pointed to Charley's stamp collecting as another symptom of his need to escape reality. Hearing this from a friend made Charley feel a bit disheartened, but it didn't shake his belief. He knew what he had seen was real. Despite the skepticism from his wife and friend, Charley's obsession only grew stronger. He was convinced that the 3rd level was a real place and that he could find it again. He went to the bank and withdrew $300 from his savings, exchanging the modern bills for old-style currency. He now had the money he needed to buy those tickets to Galesburg in 1894. This act showed his firm commitment to his plan. He was no longer just dreaming, he was actively preparing for his escape. Louisa, seeing his determination and perhaps worried about his mental state, eventually joined him in his search, though she likely did so more out of love and support than actual belief. Every weekend, Charley and Louisa would go to Grand Central Station and search for the corridor that led to the 3rd level. They explored every nook and cranny, every doorway and tunnel, but they could never find it again. It was as if the portal to the past had vanished as mysteriously as it had appeared. Charley's psychiatrist friend Sam and all their other friends thought his story was a fantasy. Yet Charley held on to his belief, fueled by the memory of that peaceful, gaslit platform. The 3rd level had become his ultimate goal, a symbol of hope in a world that offered him little peace. Just as Charley and Louisa had almost given up hope, a strange and mysterious event occurred. One night, while going through his stamp collection, Charley found something he had never seen before. It was a first-day cover, an envelope that stamp collectors mail to themselves on the first day a new stamp is issued. This one, however, was different. It had been mailed to his grandfather's home in Galesburg on July 18, 1894. The postmark proved it. Inside the envelope there was no blank paper as there should have been. Instead, there was a letter that couldn't possibly exist. The letter was addressed to Charley, but it was written and signed by his psychiatrist friend Sam Weiner. In the letter, Sam explained that he had started to believe Charley's story about the 3rd level and had decided to look for it himself. To his astonishment, he had found it. The letter went on to say that Sam was now living in Galesburg in the year 1894. He described the peaceful life there, inviting Charley and Louisa to join him. He told them to keep looking for the 3rd level because it was real and worth finding. The letter was a shocking twist that turned everything on its head. This letter from the past added a thick layer of mystery to the entire story. Was it real? Did Sam truly travel back in time, or was this another elaborate fantasy created by Charlie's mind? Charlie went to the stamp and coin store and found out that Sam had bought $800 worth of old-style currency. This money, he realized, was to set up a little hay, feed and grain business in 1894 Galsburg, a business Sam had always talked about. This discovery seemed to confirm that Sam had indeed made the journey. The psychiatrist who diagnosed Charlie with escapism had himself escaped. The story ends on this ambiguous note, leaving us to wonder what is real and what is imagined. The third level becomes more than just a physical place. It represents the deep human need to escape the pressures of our time. It is a symbol of our collective yearning for a simpler, happier, and more peaceful existence. Whether the third level was a real portal or a beautiful, intricate daydream, it served its purpose for Charlie and eventually for Sam. It offered them hope and a destination to strive for, proving that sometimes the dream of a better place is the only thing that helps us cope with the reality we are in.